Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson, and I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, we had a kind of an extended hiatus here from the Mailbag, but I think it, recharged our batteries. I don't know about you, but I was genuinely excited about coming here to shoot this video. And if you're not really excited, then don't say that. Just lie for us. But first off, man, how has your summer been? How are you doing? And welcome back.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Didn't get to go hang out on the coast or anything like certain individuals around here who had apparently life-changing experiences down there, and just
it's always a life-changing experience.
Yeah. So that's nothing that spectacular or anything, but yeah, not a bad summer at all.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to dive right into your questions then. We have a lot of them. We have some good ones here. Let's start with one from Texan who wants to know if the new transfer rule is a positive or negative for Tech in our opinions. Well, for those who don't know, gist of the new transfer rule is that coaches are not allowed to block one of their players from transferring to anywhere. Another stipulation is basically if a player declares and says, it's their intention to leave and ask out of their scholarship, then that coach has to put their name in a database, like within, I think, 2 business days, I believe is the rule. Now, the kicker is that conference rules trump basically this rule. So hypothetically, if a guy from Tech says, hey, I want to transfer, and then he wants to transfer to UT, well, the conference can vote and say, no, if the majority rules, no, you can't transfer to UT, then that guy can't go to UT. So that's the gist of it. Now, as far as if I think it will help or hurt Tech, I actually think it's going to help Tech, and probably not in football as much as I think it will in basketball and baseball. I think Tech, as a Power 5 program, both in basketball and baseball, honestly, elite in baseball, established elite, and then getting there in basketball, I think it's going to be a huge advantage for them. I think more like, let's say in-state, like Houston. There's a guy from Houston that wants to transfer to Tech, wants to take a step up to Power 5. Now that coach can't block. Joe, the next one is, who do you think redshirts this upcoming season? This is from Reckham279.
Yeah, I think the guys that don't redshirt are going to be your 3 receivers, Royals, Carter, and Ezukama.
Yeah.
And I think one of those running backs plays. I'm going to go ahead and go with Henry.
Yeah.
And who knows? There could be an odd guy that gets in there on special teams or something like that. But I mean, to me, those are the guys that are definitely going to play. If anybody else gets in there, to me, it'll be a little bit of surprise, or maybe they're just helping out on special teams.
I know Coach Brandon Jones, offensive line coach, has said before he thinks that Marshall could be one of the stronger guys on the whole team as soon as he gets to campus, which is a heck of a compliment. And he is a monster, 330 pounds. But they're pretty deep at offensive line. So I think it's going to be more of a need, or if he's just that strong. If he's that much of a boss hog, then they're going to have to play him. They're going to have him at least travel and get him ready, or maybe even be that tight end, that extra beef tight end. Can you imagine? 330-pound tight end. So that could be really cool in the power game. But I think he's a candidate. Tech Freak wants to know, he mentions Dakota Allen was on Last Chance U, the Netflix documentary. He said it was very positive for Texas Tech. He wants to know what the impact of ex-wide receiver Carlos Thompson will be to Tech football from this new upcoming season with Independence there, college in Kansas. That's who they're following this year. Yeah, Dakota was great. Honestly, that's the only season I watched. Joe, I'd be very surprised if you've seen any of the Last Chance U's. To me, it's almost too frustrating to watch because some of these guys who squander their talent and just some of the ways they act, the youth and the ignorance and all that put together, it gets so frustrating. I'm like, I can't stand it. It's kind of like when one of your favorite characters in a show is like making a fool of himself, and you kind of cover your eyes because you don't want him to. But I did watch, of course, Dakota Allen. He was fantastic. But as far as Carlos Thompson, I don't think it's going to be nearly as positive as Dakota Allen. I mean, I'm not surprised Dakota handled himself the way he did because, well, that's Dakota Allen for you. He's a wonderful young man. I think anybody who's been around him, I could confidently would say the same. He made a horrible mistake. He's paid for that mistake. And I'm glad to see him get a second chance, both on the field and off the field. Recycler says he was listening to a program on ESPN radio, and the hosts were talking about Belichick and said he would dress down his star players. And he's just kind of wondering, with Kingsbury being from, of course, the Belichick tree, kind of, as far as that he played at New England for a while. Do we think that Kingsbury does that? And has he done that? And could that possibly be directly correlate to some of the attrition I know there's a lot of things going in. But basically he wants to know if maybe he's been dressing down players and running people off, I guess, is the question.
That seems the opposite of what I know about Kliff Kingsbury. That just does not seem like his style at all to me. And to be perfectly honest, that's perhaps a page that maybe he should take a little bit out of a Belichick. And Parcells was famous for doing that too.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Parcells and Belichick are like this pretty much. So, and that's effective. There's nothing that a player hates worse than being like humiliated by the coach in front of his teammates. Yeah. And it's a cruel thing. I'm not going to deny that or anything, but it's effective as far as a coach establishing his alpha dog status with the team and establishing that leadership sort of a dynamic there. And with Kingsbury, I just do not see him doing that sort of thing. But hey, listen, you can't deny that with a lot of coaches, that's a very effective tool.
I think it depends on the player, Monty Joe. I think if you use any kind of blanket approach with all your players, you're probably going to run into some problems because there's so many different type of personalities out there. Some guys can not only take that kind of criticism, no matter how good they are, but they thrive on it. They get angry and they perform better. It just, kind of gets them more focused on the task at hand. Other guys just completely wilt and crumble, and some guys will even pout for a while. Now, I think the old school mentality is like, oh, we need to toughen them up. Well, some guys just aren't going to respond no matter how much you push them. So I think that's coaching. That's understanding your players, what buttons to push. T-Tech Meister wants to know if this season is a flop and Kingsbury is let go, does Tech go after Holgorsen? If yes, is Holgorsen interested? I don't know if Holgorsen is interested. I mean, he has a pretty sweet setup at West Virginia. I believe he got a new contract within the last year or so, which was pretty nice contract, nice extension. So he kind of had something built in West Virginia. So I don't know. It seems kind of like a lateral move to me. But what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, he had a bad patch there for a while where he was actually on the hot seat a little bit. Yeah. People thought maybe he was doomed there. But he got it turned around, and that program is definitely headed in the right direction. They look to be a pretty darn good team this year. It's not easy to get a program like that the way you want it and point it in the right direction, and to just chuck all that and to go like what you say looks kind of like a parallel move, and then have to start all over again and try to build it back up. There's no sure thing that you can do that. So I kind of don't think he would be terribly interested in that. Now, I tell you, one guy, if Tech was to go after somebody in conference and somebody who might actually have a little bit of interest, Gundy at Oklahoma, I could actually see that. It's
just to kind of get back at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, you damage somebody who's been killing you for the last 10 years or so. And I mean, Gundy has, it's been well publicized that he hadn't always been just terribly thrilled with the goings on there at Oklahoma State. I'm not sure he's on real good terms with the AD there right now, and Pickens and him apparently don't see eye to eye and go out drinking whiskey together too often. So, I mean, if Tech made an approach on Gundy, who I think is a terrific coach, I think there could actually be a little smoke there. I think that would probably be more likely than Holgorsen. But having said that, I'm not sure even that's particularly likely. I think they probably have some other candidates in mind.
Yep. DH Tech wants us to predict where 2018's offense will ultimately rank against prior Kingsbury offenses.
Yeah. Well, it's not so easy for me to say this, but at the very bottom. And I would go beyond that and say probably, I'm afraid, we're looking at maybe the least productive offense since 2000, which was Mike Leach's first year. I'm not particularly sunny and optimistic about the offense. I'm really not.
I'm not going to go that drastic because I still think they're going to put up yards. I guess it depends on which way you want to define it. Yeah, measure it. I still think they'll produce points and yards. I don't think it'll be quite as severe of a drop-off as you say. But, yeah, I mean, the quarterback play is a problem. We've seen it, with our own eyes, from the sideline, up close and personal. It is a problem. The running backs are good, but not spectacular. The offensive line is experienced, but is it dominant? I would say no. I would probably say middle of the pack in the Big 12. And the receivers, you have some guys who have potential, which means they haven't done it yet. I'm looking right at you, TJ Vasher. You're a guy that has all the talent in the world. I think and this is going to be a column of mine. I think he could be the key to your offense this year. If he can perform consistently, I think Tech could actually be formidable. But if not, and they can double up some of your inside receivers and focus more against your running attack, then I think Tech's going to have some problems, like you said, really struggle. All right, from Syntex wants to know if there is a Big 12 team other than Oklahoma that could go 500 in another Big 5 conferences, Power 5. Well, I think absolutely, Mighty Joe. I mean, West Virginia, just off the top of my head. Oklahoma State, I think their demise is being greatly exaggerated. When I looked at their roster, I was like, they're returning some pretty good guys there, actually. I mean, obviously, Mason Rudolph is a huge loss. But then TCU, I think, is a top 15 program this year, Joe. Who else?
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, don't sleep on Iowa State.
Oh, well, yes.
You know,
yes,
with Matt
absolutely.
Campbell, he's got that thing going, talk about the right direction.
Yeah.
No question about that. That's a team that could sneak up. So all those teams could definitely go into the ACC and kick some tail.
Yeah, and the Pac-12, I mean, you have like 2 or 3 like solid teams, and the rest, kind of like the Big 12.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Big 12 is down a little bit this year, but still a pretty darn good football conference. There's some good teams. It ain't going to be easy pickings for anybody.
All right, 24-11-21st says, name some surprise breakout stars on offense, defense, and special teams. I'll start with offense. I'm going to say Antoine Wesley. That's still yours?
That's my guy.
Okay, I'll say Seth Collins then. How about that? Why?
Well, I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. I hope they're both breakout players. That would be terrific. But Antoine Wesley, I mean, he's not a guy that excites too many people with his athleticism, but he's a big target. He catches the football. He gets open. He takes hard hits and he hangs on to the football. I mean, you're going to need a reliable sort of a receiver like that out there on the field because, I mean, you got a bunch of other guys that are totally unproven and seem to be inconsistent and unpredictable. And Wesley, I think, could be the security blanket, the one guy in that receiving core that you can rely on to do his job on a regular basis. And so that's my breakout guy on offense.
All right, defensively, I'm going to go with, this is my guy, Quentin Yance. I just, every time I see him, he's making plays and whipping tail, to be honest. So I really like him. I'm basically admitting I was wrong because when they added him late, I was like, who is this guy? Come on, man. He's, 200 and nothing. I produced some, but at junior college level, no, he's been very good. He looked very good when he played last year. He's looked very good in spring. I said this on the board. I don't know if I've seen him actually get whipped yet, which is crazy. Even some of the best players I've seen him get whipped. I don't know if I've seen him get whipped yet. So I really like him. I think he is your backup strong side defensive end.
Yeah, it's a very, very good pick. And I'm going to stay defensive line too. And I don't know how much of a surprise it is, but Joe Wallace. That's a guy, I mean, this is a guy that we've heard about a lot more than seen. Yeah. I mean, how many actual live fire snaps has that guy played? It doesn't seem like all that many. He's been in and out of the doghouse, mostly in.
Or injured his freshman year, too.
Or injured, and so, but I'm telling you, man, that guy is a 300-plus pounder who runs like a 230-pound linebacker. I'm not kidding. And he explodes at the line of scrimmage like an NFL defensive lineman. I believe that in terms of raw talent, Joe Wallace is the most talented defensive lineman Texas Tech has. And it's just a question of psychology and mentality. And is he doing the things the way he's supposed to be doing on and off the field? If he's got the psychology of a man this year, then look out, because Tech has got something on the defensive line. But if he's still a boy, then,
who knows what you're going to get.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Probably not much. But I'm going to go ahead and bank on the fact that maybe the message has finally gotten through, and he's come around, and you're going to see him live up to his potential, which is vast.
All right, special teams. Joe, why don't you start off with us?
Yeah, I wish I could name somebody. I can't really. I mean,
Clayton Hatfield.
Yeah, I mean, that's as good as anything. I mean, if you want to call him a surprise, I mean, this is a guy that was on the Lou Groza Award watch list, and then he got hurt, barely played, and he had what was that weird injury? It wasn't quite a hip flexor. That's it. And man, he couldn't do anything. But he finally started getting healthy towards the end of last year, and he started making kicks again. And I think, assuming that he's 100%. He's potentially an all-American type of a kicker. He's that good. So, I'm really looking forward to, and he may get a lot of kicks in too, by the way.
All right, Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.